We don't practice because someone makes us practice. We don't practice for fame or glory. We don't practice to impress anyone or make us feel better about ourselves. We certainly don't practice for money. We practice because we yearn to connect. Connect to the ancestors that built this. Connect to the modern geniuses that inspire us. Connect to our city and our scene and the listeners in the back of the room. But mostly we want to connect to that spark that lives deep within all of us. That spark that wants to be fire. We practice every day to clear a path for that spark. Let's practice together. Welcome to the Daily Guided Practice Session. Let's start with our chromatic scale, 88 beats per minute. Let's get to work. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Adam Maness here. Good to see y'all. It's Saturday. It's a special Saturday edition of our Daily Guided Practice Session here on YouTube. Yesterday over on openstudiojazz.com, we had an amazing masterclass with the great pianist Edward Simon. And so we thought we would, instead of putting those two things back to back, we would just, little work on the weekend. Never hurt anybody, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get going here right away. But before we do, we like to give you an opportunity to take a deeper dive on what we're working on today. Of course, if you want to jump into the full Open Studio experience, you can. Today, for our YouTube folks practicing, we're going to be practicing some diminished chord voicings. I've got an awesome little diminished chord voicing workout planned in 3 tiers. And these are all part of Jazz Chords for Beginners, which Ian just put a link right there in the chat. So you could check that out. That's just for our people here live. So if you're digging what you're seeing, check out that link there in the chat. You could save $30 just today only, which is pretty awesome. So yeah, we'll give it just a second because this is kind of, it's kind of a new day, new time. We're not going to do this every Saturday, but also I was late coming here because, it's Saturday. I was like, I got a guided practice session to go to. Turns out I do. So, but we won't give it too long. We'll get right into it because I'm really excited about this. So yeah, good to see y'all. What's up, Jerome? What's up, Sizumgray? Not even sure. That's probably a butcher. I'm sorry about that. What's up, Serjuiz? Martina, what's going on? Rich. Oh man, got some regular crew here. Ann in Germany. The regular crew's all here on the weekend. Thanks for turning out, y'all. Cool. Well, shall we? Let's get right into it, Thank you so much for joining me today on this guided practice session. Today, we are going to practice something that I get emails about and I get chats about, and people stop me on the street and I'm like, stay 6 feet away. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody stops me on the street to ask me about jazz piano, but all my jazz piano nerdy friends out there ask about these things that we're going to practice today all the time. And these are diminished chords. So I've designed a diminished chord workout that's in 3 tiers. We have 3 different voicing structures, all dealing with diminished 7th chords. And I think you're really going to dig it because this is one of those chord voicings that a lot of beginner and intermediate players tend to play very simply, which is very good. But there's some colors we can get for diminished 7th chords that you may not know about, or maybe you know about them, but you haven't really taken the time to work them into your practice routine. But just adding 1 or 2 very pretty notes to our diminished 7th chords makes a world of difference. It turns this into this. Isn't that beautiful? So that's what we're going to be doing today, a little diminished 7th chord workout. Before we do that, though, first of all, I just want to let you know that this guided practice session is brought to you by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com and take a deeper dive on everything we're talking about here. We're talking about things from courses ranging from, we have a course called Jazz Piano for Beginners that will deal with a lot of these. We also have a course called Magic Voicing Systems that will deal with a lot of these, or some of these. So go check that out, openstudiojazz.com. But before we get into the actual voicings themselves, let's talk about what a diminished chord is. And to do that, we actually have to look at the diminished scale. So we're going to be dealing with E flat diminished 7 for most of this session, because we're going to be in the key of C, and we're going to use that flat 3 or sharp 2 diminished going to a 2 chord. That sounds very complicated, but it'll be very obvious once we get into it. So if we want to make an E flat diminished chord, right, we need to base this off of the E flat whole half. It says half whole here, but it should be whole. It should say whole half. It's the worst. It's the typos are the worst. The whole half diminished scale, right? So we have from E flat a whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step, and then a half step, and then a whole step, and then a half step, and a whole step. So it doesn't matter what it's called. All you need to know is that if you start on E flat and you go in a series of whole steps and then half steps, you get this scale. It's a diminished scale. If this was starting, the same scale was starting on D, then it would be an actual half whole diminished. But this is a whole half. Ignore the man behind the curtain that says it's a half whole. I don't know who did that. Some joker. So this is the scale that we base all of our diminished 7 chords off of, right? So if we take a look at this, like let's look at these. I'm going to get this just out of my eyes real quick. So if we take a look at this, we can see how we build chords, right? Like I have the notes in black here. Those are our chord tones for an E flat diminished 7 chord, right? If we skip a note going up this scale, we get E flat, G flat, A, and C. Now, this is a very standard, like stacked thirds kind of diminished voicing. This is where we'll start. Nothing wrong with this, by the way. Sounds good. Gives you everything you need to know. Right? So let's look at, though, what I'm interested with this particular practice session. Let's look at the notes that are in blue. These are the other notes of that diminished scale that we're not using in the chord tones. And these are what we're going to call the pretty notes. F, A flat, B, and D. Right? Again, this is on E flat diminished. So we have these notes. That's a E flat diminished 7s. And then the pretty notes, look at this. What do they make? They also make a diminished chord. They make an F diminished chord. Now check it out. We can play actually both these together. And it sounds super rich. It sounds incredibly beautiful. And that's a legitimate voicing that a lot of great pianists have played. This is where we're starting. So instead of just playing all chord tones, right? The 4 chord tones of an E flat diminished 7, which are important, all the voicings, all 3 levels of voicings that we're going to do today are going to add in at least one of those pretty notes, in some cases 2. So here are the 3 voicings that we're going to be practicing and the 3 structures that we're going to be practicing. The first is the root shell pretty. This is a staple around here at Open Studio. Root shell pretty is a very simple formula for building great sounding chords from the bottom up. We have our root, E flat, then we have the shell, the 3rd and the 7th. In this case, it's G flat and C, right? We're just going to spread them out here. So we have our root, and then we have our C and our G flat, that's the shell. And then we add 2 pretty notes. You can see them there on blue on the top. These are notes that are from that F diminished chord. How beautiful is that? So instead of something like this, which you do hear, you hear a lot of beginner players play that. Nothing wrong with it, but that's one thing we can do. But what about this? There's something more going on there, right? There's a little cream on that biscuit, you know? So that's our root shell pretty. That's a great voice, and we're going to use that in a progression where we're playing all rooted voicings. We're going to be playing kind of these ballad changes to something really slow that we can work these through. So again, this will be our E flat diminished 7 voicing that we're working today. Root shell pretty. Great for solo piano, great for not solo piano, great for in a rhythm section. Now, the magic voicing. This is from our magic voicing system course at Open Studio. These diminished voicings, these will change your life. These are rootless, 2-handed diminished voicings that you can play when you're playing with like a bass player or a rhythm section. And again, instead of just doubling just all thirds on all the chord tones, we add 1 pretty note. So check it out. So I have all the notes of that E flat diminished 7 chord. Right? I have E flat, I have G flat, I have A, and I have C. That's just the E flat diminished 7, but I add 1 pretty note and it makes all the difference. That pretty note, I don't know why it says C. It's not C. It's A flat. I told you I was running late. It's Saturday, y'all. But check that out. A, E flat, A flat, C, and G flat. That's chef's kiss. I gotta kiss it if I'm gonna say it. That is our E flat diminished 7. If I throw a root down there, come on. That's so gorgeous, so gorgeous. Finally, we'll do one more system that we'll practice with our E flat diminished, and that's our left hand 4 note. Again, we're going to build it up from the 3rd, G flat, A, C, and now normally you might play E flat, right? Just, again, a series of minor thirds, but we want to use one of those pretty notes, and that pretty note is F. Come on now. How beautiful is that? So E flat, A, C, and F. And again, that F is from that F diminished. It's one of the notes. And it's so nice. So nice. So that's it. Those are the 3 different kinds of chord changes that we're going to be practicing. And we are going to be practicing. So get to your piano. Even if you're not a pianist, some of these are very simple, and you might be able to if you even just play a little piano, if you play another instrument but you play a little piano, you might be able to hang with this. We're gonna go very, very slow. So get to your piano, make sure you can hear yourself, make sure you can hear me. If this is the kind of content that you're digging, go ahead and smash that like button for me so we know more of the things you want to see. Do you want to see more voicing videos? Do you want to see more whatevers? Hit the like button. Let me know that you're digging this. And yeah, thanks everybody for coming through here on a Saturday. We're having a great time. Okay, let's look at the first chord progression that we're going to play. This is our root shell pretty voicing. All right, and we're going to do just a very slow work through. One of the ways that we can use a diminished 7th chord, and that you often see in like Great American Songbook standards, is approaching a 2 chord, right? A 2 chord is usually a minor 7 chord. In the key of C, like the 2 chord is D minor. And a way to get there, you could get there from like A7 for sure, but one way to get there is from the diminished chord a half step above. It's a very common way to get to that 2 chord. So here we start on the 1, we start on C, and then we go to our root shell pretty. These are all root shell pretty voicings, by the way. Right, then we go to our E flat diminished 7. Oh, it's so beautiful. And then we land on our 2 chord. And then we go back up to our E flat diminished 7 because we're going to go to a little C, add 2 over E. This is a nice little chord I thought would be fun. And then back to our diminished 7. We just have a couple of ways, 2 or 3 ways to practice going through the diminished 7 here. And then we'll add a little tritone sub at the end, just a little flavor. So the whole thing sounds like this. And this is just a way, a little exercise to practice these chords. Come on. So pretty, isn't it? This is where having these pretty notes in that diminished 7, it comes in handy. Like, listen to the difference between having just chord changes. It sounds fine. It sounds very boxy to me. It sounds very square. But having these pretty notes, there's a little air in the room. You know what I mean? Yeah. Boy, that's great. Okay. We're going to go very slowly here. We don't need to rush ourselves. We're just going to make sure this is loud enough. Just 50 beats per minute right here. Just working these voicings. We're going to cycle through. We're going to do what's called interleaved practice. We're going to play this just a few times, and then we're going to move on, but we're going to come back to it. Play with me. 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 2, 3, and 2 more times. 3 and. Come on. That's where it really shines. One more time. 2, 3, and. So that's our very first structure, right? That root shell pretty. We're coming back to it. I want to do some interleaf practice. This is where you play things through and then you have to come back and do it again. So these are our magic voicings here. Check it out. We have our C major 7 and then that E flat diminished. Then our 2 chord. Then our E flat diminished. Then our C2 over E, E flat diminished. Our 2, and then our D flat. And we resolve. Play with me. 3, 4. 3 more times. I'll play some bass. 4. 2 more times. 3, 4. One more time. 3 and. We're just going to keep rolling. Again, we're going to do some interleaf practice where we come back to this. Here's our left hand 4-note voicings. This is very simple 4-note voicings. Same chord progression, exact same chord progression. And the same E flat diminished 7 every time so that we really lock it in. Try it again. 3 and I'll play some bass. Three more times. 4. 2 more. 2, 3, and play with me. Aren't those nice? I really like these voicings. Two, 3, 4. 2 more times. more. Isn't that great? Isn't that awesome? So those three structures are three versatile structures that can serve you in a lot of situations between the three of them. I mean, we're talking solo piano, we're talking about with rhythm sections, we're talking about, accompanying other people, especially just the root shell pretty alone. Let's go back to that root shell pretty. Let's try it again. So this is the thing. We learn it, we forget it, we have to come back, we have to relearn it. It's going to stick even deeper, even harder. So let's try it here. 1, 2, 3, and... Again, 2, 3, and... One more time. 2, 3, and... All right, let's go right to our magic voicing system. Again, we're trying to learn them, but we're also trying to forget them and have to relearn them. That's how we really make it stick. All right, here we go. From the top of this, we'll do this 3 times. I'll play a little bass for you. 2, 3, and... Again, 2, 3, and... One more time. 2, 3, and... All right to the left-hand voicings. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, and... If you're a more advanced player here, go ahead and blow a little bit if you want. Take a little solo over these changes, a little ballad playing. Two more times. 2, 3, and 4. Last time. All right, shake it out a little bit. Loosen up. We're going to do one more round of these 3 levels. Aren't these great? It's a little bit, it's just different, right? I was going to say it's a lot better. It's a little bit better than just straight up minor thirds, but it's just a different thing, right? It's a more modern, kind of a little more airy sound to have with it. It's just a nice thing to know how to do if you want to pull out this sound. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it here. Root, shell, pretty. We're going to do the same order here. Root, shell, pretty, and then magic voicing system, and then left hand voicing. Play with me. 1, 2, 3, and. One more time. Isn't that cool? Okay, let's move straight in then to our magic voicing system version of these changes, all working on our diminished seventh voicings here. We really want to get some pretty notes going in our diminished sevenths. So these magic voicing system chords are so cool. 2, 3, and you got it. I'll play some bass. Let's do 2 times through here. Again, 2, 3, and. Okay, right into our last round with our left-hand voicings, the 4-note left-hand voicings. Again, if you're a more advanced player, you might take a little solo over these, make some melodies up. Here we go. 2, 3, and. One more time. 2, 3, and. Having too much fun because it's Saturday. Thanks, folks, for this practice. You can always come back to this video. We'll leave it up for quite a while so that you can come work on these things a little more. They're so much fun, and they're so handy to have. These diminished voicings don't have to be a mystery. We just have to know what are the pretty notes that we can add to make it that much better. Again, if you want to take a deeper dive on any of the things that we're working on here, you can go to openstudiojazz.com. We have tons of courses on voicings, jazz chords for beginners, the magic voicing system, left-hand voicings, all that stuff. Thank you very much for your work today. It's always a good day when we're making the world a little bit more beautiful place than we left it. So, yeah, thanks for that today. Cool. Right on, everybody. Until next time, happy practicing. Later, folks.